are you? Good. Some water there, Mike? I'm good. I got my coffee. Oh, man. Playing with that today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it did.
You looking for water?
Lots of salad in here. You guys are all healthy.
We just like to have options.
Right.
Is there any creamer anywhere?
It's below. There's some regular creamer. Just the box didn't fit, I don't think.
Oh, wonderful.
Delightful. That coffee made. Yeah. Some more.
I should stock us up. Hazo again.
Hey, your retirement?
It's awesome. How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Well, most days is nice.
How's real estate business?
Great.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's starting to kick finally.
Good.
It takes a while.
Colder down there.
It's not true.
Well,
Not
I'll
a good
talk.
time like this.
I'm gonna actually my house, my property in Texas goes up for sale next week. So I'm gonna look for something else. Well, you know what? I'm being taxed off the property. But when I bought the property in '94, I was taxed about $750 a year. Now it's over $600 because of all the development. So I figured it's a good time to
Producing. Investment.
Take pictures.
We're the same place.
Yeah, and I was going to do the 1031 exchange, but I don't think I will.
Pretty nice next
Because I want to buy something that I can leave that to Mike. And then 1031, you can only use it 2 weeks in a year.
Okay.
11 mile, late spring, spinning.
Keep my eyes out. There is some stuff out there actually. It's starting to pop up. Inventory improving.
I'm actually thinking about maybe farther west. Maybe
You know what?
that's why I sound a little dopey. I'm really Let's talk.
Forecast Friday has screen.
Yeah.
I'm hoping anyway.
Brother, how are you?
So, I saw that.
Yeah, it's more starting.
So how far was I scared of that scene? I was like, yeah, we're going west to right Bob's late. Bob's late. He's over at West Wind. Not ideal. Here we go. That's where I'll be here. Yeah, it's not going
no, it was homes open.
I don't think it's
Really nice. Really good.
I don't think John's going to go for it.
Stuff I can drink.
Oh, really?
With no chemicals. Corn syrup. Raspberry syrup.
This will give me a headache.
No.
You gave me a headache.
I think it's this corn syrup that gives you the headache.
Well, I got a headache from some It was good. It tasted awesome.
They got hibiscus and wood got morning.
It had like a dried ginger. Yeah.
I put the money in and
I only got cider. Yeah.
They do have beer. Yeah, I'm not a cider fan, but
I got a bacon wrapped hot dog. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pass that up.
oh, definitely. Okay. I'm in south of the border.
It was the menu was
Really diverse.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
probably, I mean, if I get the
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like, you know, I wanted to order one. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
It's an extensive.
But, you know, they poured a cider like straight up to the top of the wine glass. I was like, yeah, that's what
They
you
actually built into garage for
I figured to realize.
The steel buildings are cheap.
Yeah, well, that would take some work. You want to No, what's right, so there's kind of operation.
I don't, looking at that diagram, I don't know.
They used to be
You
modular.
know why? That's the I2
It was
section.
modular.
They still have this big traffic doesn't get in there.
Oh my
They
God.
don't have a
Oh, it's been a long time, it's been
No, it's a cider.
Remember
They had monitoring flows and
I mean, over time, people.
Straight up seven.
No, I'm just.
I go by satellite. This moment. Okay.
Yeah, she's going
And we gotta take our positions.
Okay, I'll play mayor here. There we go.
That was a weak.
Yeah, well, I was practicing. Anyway, yeah, need to, want to call this, meeting to order, the regular meeting of the Idaho Springs City Council for February 25th, 2019. And Diana, if we could have the roll call, please.
Hillman, Scott Donnell.
Here.
Juicy Stokes. Here. Bob Bowman.
Here.
Mike Buick.
Here.
John Curtis.
Here.
Jason Siegel.
Here.
All right. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome our attendees in the audience again. And it's always nice to see some faces out there. We have enough meetings. So this is really good. We're improving here. That's good. Okay, does anyone feel they have a conflict of interest for any of the subjects on the agenda tonight? Not hearing any. We'd like to move on to the approval of the minutes of the meeting, regular meeting on February 11th. This year. I'm sorry? Oh, I just skipped that. I see, I had that gauntlet thrown down to get through this meeting.
I move to approve the agenda for February 25th, 2019 meeting.
Okay, any discussion or additions to the agenda? Okay, conflict of interest. Okay, and now the approval of minutes for February 11th, 2019. And I know I did not see any problems at all with it, but would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 11th, 2019.
Scott, and a second.
Second.
Oh, that was Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike.
Okay, Mike seconds. Okay, any comments or questions? All right, all in favor? I believe that's not a roll call, is it, Diana? Just a
Voice vote.
Okay, just voice vote. Then all in favor of adopting the minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I abstained because I wasn't here.
Okay, approval of bills and to February 25th day and salaries for last month, January 2019. Entertain a motion before discussion to approve those.
I'll move to approve bills to February 25th, 2019 and salaries for January 2019.
And second, please.
Second.
Okay, that was this Scott. All right, discussion.
Page 8, safe building permits. How's that for?
The monthly fee.
Oh, okay.
That's a base fee, is that correct? Okay.
You get like 80% of most things.
Oh. Okay, somewhere I missed that. I know in the budgeting, I guess somehow that one, I missed that one, so, okay. All right, any other Jason, any other items?
Curiosity 106, the policy manual law enforcement, is that just, what is that?
Yes, we have a contract with Lexipol, and Lexipol, what they do is they have come up with a master policy manual that many of the policies apply to everybody all over the nation. But what they also do is they have attorneys in every state that fine tune the policies for us. So we subscribe to them, and it's very common. And what they do is they update the policy. So if there's a new law that affects a policy, whether, let's say like search or seizure or impounded vehicles, case law, they come in and they revise those policies. So what it does is it saves us legal fees.
Okay.
But they also publish the policy manual every year.
So you get an actual physical copy?
No,
of it,
we can download it in PDF because it's
Okay.
constantly changing.
Right.
So everybody has access. Everybody has a Lexipol account,
Okay.
which is part of this.
Okay.
And of course, if they want, they can print out the 600 pages from PDF.
And then they give you alerts if something
Yeah,
changes?
if
and
case
so
law,
that's awesome.
if case law
Okay.
changes, they come in, they notify us.
So is this every year or just?
It's constant. It
As far
never
as the
stops.
fee that you have to pay for?
Oh yeah, it's one time,
Just one time.
every year, every year.
Oh, very interesting.
What's that?
Which item?
Page 6, the
Yeah,
second up from
sorry.
the bottom, Lexipol.
Excellent.
Andy, so, or maybe Diane, this might be you, on that, the building permits, so how does that calculate? Is that just based on the permits that people file?
Central gets 80% of the building permit fee,
Okay.
all of plan review, because they do the plan
Right,
review,
right.
and the city gets to keep the use tax.
Okay. So, so that's not.
Based on the
that's-
building permit price.
And that's regardless of whether the permit gets approved or unapproved or at the end of the day or.
Maybe 0.5% never gets approved, but.
Okay. Okay. So that's going to be a variable fee every month, basically.
Correct, it is.
I'd like to go back just a moment to what Chris was talking about. I'm assuming that this service, say, look at federal and then the various states as well, and that's a big job.
It
These
is.
are hundreds of cases going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Oh, and one thing I forgot too is they offer online training to the officers too.
Oh.
So they have a catalog of online training that has to do with the policies, and of course that training counts towards our mandatory state training requirements as well.
So accredited. Yeah. Wow, that seems like a bargain considering everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Good. All right. Anything else then?
Our attorney bills us per hour, is that how they bill? Who gets the job of reviewing their, and they detail it out?
They do. They itemize it. And it gets allocated by department. So police matter go to police, if it's a public works,
All right.
Page 5, I think Dan is probably the citric acid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use that for cleaning place, to clean our membranes up the water pumps.
Must be pretty stout citric acid.
It's good stuff.
All
Are we
right.
doing shots later? Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, hearing no more, roll call?
Michael Hellman, Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Richie Soap,
Yes.
Art Baldwin,
Yes.
Mike Bueller,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Jason Siegel.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any unscheduled public comment before we may have? Small audience, I haven't seen anybody signing in, so apparently not tonight.
No.
Okay. Okay, and no public comments are scheduled, so, let's see, nothing with marijuana. And what we talked about earlier. City attorney, resolutions, anything at all that is not mentioned here? Probably we can't cover too much anyway.
Financial report.
That's included in the packet.
Okay. Is that something we needed to discuss, or?
No.
Yeah, we
Your
normally
review.
don't.
Pretty good.
Yeah, a matter of, yeah. Once in a while we do hear from her, I believe.
Yep.
But not too often. So when we hear from her, that's the time to get worried probably. So,
That rent fund's almost gone,
Yep.
but that's alright.
okay, Andy?
Mayor and council, you have my report with one request for action, please.
I'll move to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a notice of non-compliance in order to construct and repair a retaining wall at 2103 Wall Street.
Second?
Second that?
Okay, Scott, seconds, all right, any discussion on this? I think it has certainly been discussed previously at work sessions and so on. So, all right, any comments?
When I looked at the site, there's a problem.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's what I'm
So I went to
pretty
the
bad.
site to examine it.
Oh,
There's a problem.
it's probably,
It's
another
pretty
words,
bad.
okay, so, all right,
Yes.
Bob Boland?
yes,
Mike Buick?
Yes.
John Curtis?
Yes.
Jason Siegel?
Yes.
all right, thank you, any, items you wanna verbally mention out of your list here? Busy as usual. I know, Andy,
No, nothing
Yeah.
particular.
your list hasn't gotten any shorter.
Well, this one's a little shorter than normal. But
Well, it is, but I would say the average is still hanging in there. There's a lot going on in this curve, that's for sure. So, okay, Diane, City Clerk.
Mayor and council, I have my staff report for your review with no request for action.
All right.
Anything
Oh, here we
interesting
go.
going on in the HPRC?
They're actually making some good headway about a survey plan.
Cool.
The state's been on to them for a long time to do that as a part of the CLG requirement.
Right.
And we've got a really good, interested board now, so I think that
That's
they're
good.
gonna
Some fresh
actually
faces.
accomplish something.
Excellent.
Do you have sales tax numbers for January?
Not yet.
Okay,
They'll come in tomorrow.
They just came in.
all right, thanks, Diane. Chris, Police Department.
Mayor and council, I would refer you to my report. I am gonna ask for, an amendment, and that would be to rescind my 3 requests for action so that I can, reformat those into resolutions. And, I request that we table those items until the 11th.
Okay, so just looking for consensus tonight, sort of a,
No, I just wanted to fill you in on where we were at.
okay,
And use that time.
I can't see any, problem on renaming anything like this. Okay, and, yeah, so we're tabling the revisions to the records request form as well.
Yes, all 3 items.
Okay, which we discussed earlier. Okay, good enough. Then anything else, Chris, going on? Seems
No,
like
other
there's
than-
always so much going on.
I know, the guys are busy,
They are.
I just wanna point out, something I cited in that, senior patrol officer, Justin Richardson, is resigning, effective the middle of next month. He and his wife have had a dream of owning a ranch in South Dakota. So, they have their eye on 60 acres, and
Cool.
looks like it's gonna come to fruition, so really happy for him, getting him set up, so he can, compete for jobs in South Dakota as well.
He's done an outstanding job here.
Yeah.
He has done a great job with the public.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that, but happy at the same time. It's like
Yeah.
when anybody quit these. Okay.
That's hard to find ranches with tall enough ceilings for that.
He's gonna build his own, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Custom
So-
doorways.
Yeah.
7 feet high.
Harder to
Richardson
find good
size.
police officers too. Okay,
Oh, that's okay.
that's, yeah, bad news. I'm sorry to hear that, we sure do understand.
And Brittany's doing well?
Brittany's doing very well, yeah. She's, I've been shadowing her, and she is, productive, and decisive. There's still that learning curve, but, she's really on her game, so we're lucky to have her.
Good.
I'm just wondering where we are. I'm sure it's just general conceptual talking about plans for an eventual move into the firehouse.
Yes,
down here.
I went in and took some measurements, structural concept to be done, and then $200,000 next year for the renovation. We're looking at moving the workspaces for records and administration to the west side, or east side, I'm sorry. Those are the three of the larger bays. And what I'm proposing is
East side on the ground floor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I'm proposing is we essentially build a building inside that building. It's been done elsewhere to larger scales, old Home Depots, Builder Square, supermarkets. And that would leave us, even with a raised roof, that would leave us space above for all the infrastructure. The plumbing is on that side from the bathrooms upstairs, so we want to add two disabled, accessible restrooms for the public as well as the staff, and utilize the west end for primarily the officer's workspace, but myself and the sergeant will be on the east side with one workstation for a duty officer. We've already volunteered one of the stalls for the street sweeper. If that's needed, that's where I'm drawing the line, though. We're excited about it. I think the thing we need to be cautious about. There's already been discussion about aesthetics, about what we'd make the new building look like.
Yeah.
You know, my feeling is, having grown up essentially, almost literally in an old fire station, is that we concentrate on the workspace inside. We're going to need space for storage. We're going to need space for code enforcement. That would free up the old vault downstairs. We moved the evidence to a climate-controlled facility.
Yeah.
We would be able to use space inside for all the bicycles that get turned in and that are found in other property that are not necessarily evidentiary. Keep a couple of vehicles parked inside. One of our biggest challenges, one of the biggest pros is we have that huge space upstairs, which was their commons area, their training room.
All you're talking about so far is on the ground floor.
Right. Well, no. Now we're going upstairs.
Okay.
So on the east side, there's a second story with a kitchen, 2 restrooms, a shower, and a large classroom. That's one thing that we're lacking is a classroom for our officers. If we had that, we could actually bring training in for free. If we sponsor it, we'd be able to bring people here. They give up so many free spaces, and they have the training. It would help the local hotels as well if we had extended
And that's
training.
a big enough classroom to do.
It is big enough, yeah. I hate to think about it, but if we ever needed an emergency shelter in town,
Sure.
that space would be available for that.
So we can keep supplies there too.
Absolutely, there's
Yes.
storage space outside that room. Now, one of the challenges is we do need an elevator. It's gonna require a small elevator, and I think when we speak to the architect, that will not be require a lot of structural deviation because the northeast corner looks like it would accommodate an elevator.
Does the 200 for next year sound adequate? Or
If we concentrate on the workspace,
Okay, all right.
I'm a little concerned about upstairs. If we go in there and start tearing up tiles, I will bet you there's asbestos in the glue. So
And
that's
the
one of the
tiles.
things you just leave until you really have to replace it.
I bet that is in the tile itself. I would agree.
Yeah.
Can you resurface and go right over it and just
Yes,
lock it down?
we actually can. That's an option. There's a way to seal it as long as it adheres to the ground, and essentially put like carpeting over it.
Right.
But I'll have to check on that. That's what we did in some of our buildings in Austin. I would presume the regulations are the same.
So once the street sweeper has its own permanent home,
Yes.
so, there would be 3 bays inside for.
There would be
patrol
3 bays. There would be 3 bays. I'm not sure how many vehicles we can fit in them. They're very deep.
They're very large.
Yeah,
yes.
they're very deep, but we want to reserve one for like it'd be nice to have a nice workspace. One of the bays in our current workspace we use for evidence processing. So it'd be nice to have a little larger space. We're kind of pushed the envelope on the way we temporarily store evidence. We have a number of lockers, but this would allow us more space. for evidence processing and temporary storage. Or, actually, temporary storage would be very temporary because the main evidence storage would be in that building, and we wouldn't have to come back and forth.
Well, at times the evidence is an entire vehicle or something.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes evidence is an entire vehicle. We do use Allied for extended periods. I mean, they don't have any of our cars, but they got cars from the state that have been there for like 3 years that were involved in fatality collisions and vehicular homicide. So that would give us some space for that type of impoundment.
Well, it sounds like you utilize this space really well. I was thinking, boy, it's really big for what you've been thinking of classrooms and training. Training facility there.
Oh, and the thing about the classroom, and I brought this up to Andy and the mayors, it would also be a commons area. It would be another space available to the different commissions and boards that we have in the city.
What about a workspace for deputies from the county?
Yes. The workspace on the west side, because it is segregated from our major workspace, the plan is to make that accessible to the troopers, the deputies, the game warden, and that would help us because there'd be more and more police cars passing through town.
Do you have space for like interviews and whatnot?
Yeah, we're gonna have to build 2 interview rooms. One of the things that has really been a very difficult for us is when we have a case where we have suspects, one's a juvenile and one's an adult, it's very difficult because by law you have to separate them. And we can't do that in our facility. And also, we can't process people. We can't fingerprint people, take their pictures, and interview them now, even if we vacated one of our offices, because there's nothing separating them from where civilian personnel
So you
work.
pretty much have to go to Georgetown to do all
So
that.
if things go south, we really want to have separate spaces for our civilian staff. Plus, we can fortify it a little bit. I mean, the personnel, the records personnel, really should have a safe barrier.
And secure.
And ours is very lacking right now.
Well, I was kind of excited about this possible moving now. I really am.
Yeah, I think it's in a perfect location. And if we have to process somebody, it's far enough away from where the tourists regularly are. We can actually use one of the bays as a sally port, so we don't have to actually walk people on the street. We can just pull in, take them out. We are not going to have a holding facility there. The purpose will be to process and release with PR bond, or interview and then make our decision to transport to jail.
So essentially, or ideally, I guess, your officers would be spending a lot more time in town versus traveling back and forth to Georgetown.
Yes,
to handle some of the administrative stuff.
Yes, and we've actually curbed some of that. Things that people are traditionally arrested for, like driving on a revoked license, that's not mandatory. So we put a stop to that. But if we were able to bring them to the police station and fingerprint them and take their photograph, that's still an arrest.
Right.
And that goes in the record, but we don't have to physically transport them to Georgetown.
Right.
All right. Good. I appreciate the update. Yeah, well, that can't happen soon enough, as far as I'm concerned. It's obviously going to have to be one of the dominoes that fall, right? Yeah. So, okay. Thank you, Chris. All right. Public Works, Street Parks. Looks like Dan, you're filling in for everybody in that.
No request for action from John.
You're filling in very well.
Even if there was, there's no request for action.
Okay.
Mayor and council, I'll refer you to my staff report with numbers.
Yes. Anything of particular interest in here you want to mention?
We've got our state inspection at the wastewater plant coming up Thursday. Finish the audit tomorrow. That's about it.
Every 3 to 5 years on an inspection. That's kind of a biggie then.
Yep.
I would think, yes. Okay.
It's that time again, huh?
Yeah, they're always a blast.
Is that an all-day thing when they do it, or how long does it take?
It can be, but I mean, we've got all our stuff together, so it's usually, probably be out of there by noon.
Okay.
Great.
When you guys did that, it was a couple of years ago, I think you guys did that counterterrorism. They came in and did
That was the only time I've ever done that.
So that's not like a yearly thing?
No, that's the only time.
You gotta let me know next time.
Probably Homeland Security or
Yeah.
something, I imagine.
It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, any committee reports? Yeah, I know that we still haven't talked about the committee appointments this year.
Well, I was appointed to the board on project support.
Oh, you were?
It's my first meeting.
Oh, you, okay.
It's in the morning, so it's easy to participate with that group, and I'm really excited to serve, and I feel like doing a good job. Troy has a lot of brilliant ideas in terms of rebuilding and restructuring over there, and he's been out for a little while for personal reasons, but I'm really looking forward to serving under him. The group was very nice that I had a chance to meet with, and I think they've got a lot of great things planned for our seniors and for Clear Creek.
Yeah, I was on that committee, as you know, previously, and I could not attend the meetings for 100 different reasons, but it just seemed like I was feeling a little guilty. I'm so glad you're on that.
Oh, yeah, I'm really going to enjoy it.
It's worthwhile.
A great group.
Yeah, it is. I agree, and I think it meets a huge need. Okay, Mayor and Council, person, there's nothing else to discuss, so I guess we will use this gavel a little more positively this time. And it was about, I'll check the official time, 7:25. But meeting is, you know what, are there any comments at all from the audience or anything? Unofficially, I know we went through this earlier, but
I actually did have a question.
Okay, a question, okay.
A few months ago, one of the ladies up on Highway 103 did a request from the police department and the mayor regarding the parking and the, you know, people getting out of their cars wandering
The rafting
around on
business?
103
Yeah.
at the rafting company. I was told by CDOT at the last meeting that they were working with the city and the county to come to some resolution about cleaning that mess up, but I was wondering if you guys had an update on that.
If anybody does.
Yeah, on the 4th, that's part of our work session. We did meet with the state and the county, and very interesting is that people's property lines go farther up to the road than they thought. So in essence, there is a very narrow right of way, 10 to 12 feet, where people can legally park. On the 4th, if you have an opportunity to come back to our work session, because we're going to discuss that. It's our understanding that we can post it. A lot of the responsibility is going to feel on the property owners. If they don't mark their boundaries or post it, no trespassing, then there's little we can do immediately. Going northbound, on the right is number one, limit the time they can park. Essentially, it was proposed between 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Be no parking. No parking is easier, so we can't get them up. So that's one of the proposals there, and not allow vehicles to park two abreast because they would be on the property owner's property. As far as the traffic park on the west curb line, northbound, we do have concerns about them being close parked to the road. The problem is that is not illegal. It's tragic when somebody gets hit. When they open their door, their car gets door, or somebody gets hit. But at this time, it's not illegal unless the city and possibly the school district deems that it's unlawful to park there at all. The right-of-way, as I understand it, on that side is much narrower, and it goes directly into school property. So there'll be a lot more insight on the 4th, on March 4th.
What time is that?
That's our work session at 6, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, good.
Sam Nana is coming next week, first,
So
he'll be on
that
first.
public-
Yeah.
For the
Have a feeling you'll be here,
covenants,
Candy.
So, Chris,
Yeah.
essentially, if the property lines are a little bit further closer to the road than anticipated before, so if you were to put a percentage on how many of the people that were camping before would have been on private property,
50% or more.
so and all these people are aware of this now, the property line being closer. Or?
No, we'll get the word out to them and invite them.
Okay.
There really aren't many property owners. There's 4 or 5 houses,
Right.
and then so they're gonna adopt or consider adopting what we do.
And then what about the same issue that was happening up on St. Mary's? Because that's not really state that wouldn't be a state issue, right? Because that's
As far as the parking goes?
the camping, you know.
Oh, well, no, that's totally different. That's Forest Service. And, you know, we've spoken to the Forest Service about that before. There are areas that are over impacted that can just close, and for whatever reason they're reluctant to do that.
Yeah.
So that's actually a federal violation.
Okay.
When they're there, if they're there over 14 days, and of course the waste issues and the trash.
And not adjacent to us.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
good. That's
Yeah.
good.
And unfortunately, they only have one law enforcement officer for the entire district.
Okay, well, thank you. Can you bring up an item we're going to be talking a lot more about, obviously, with the
Thank
season
you.
coming? So, okay, with that, it is now officially 7:30. Adjournment.
Thanks, Bob.
Hey, Bob. Good job.
Hey. I want to leave my name here till Mike gets here.
Ah.
I want him to see it.
You should hide Mike's.
Yeah. Anybody have
Put
any
it in the drawer. He'll never.